We are asked to solve a polynomial equation, which is x to the third plus 3x squared equals 81x plus 243. It's a polynomial equation. What is the degree and how many solutions do I expect? 3, because the degree is 3. Make yourself a note so we don't forget 3 solutions. If I only get 1 or 2, something is wrong. Good. So what will I need to do? What will be my first step? Yes, I have no choice. That's how we solve polynomial equations. What is on the other side? Perfect. How many terms? What is the only method for 4 terms? From the first 2, what will I factor out? What is left in parentheses? Good. What should I get from the other 2? And I write equal symbol and 0. If I don't get this, I can continue. It must be there. Very good. Only now I look. Let's look. I need sign and factor. (81 times x is negative 81x, and 81 times 3 is negative 243. Perfect. So now I can continue because I see a common factor, which is? Very good. What is left in parentheses? Do not forget the equal symbol and 0 because you will not solve. What is left in parentheses? Very good. What can I do to x squared minus 81? It's a binomial. It's in descending order. I'm hoping for a special product. Very good. Difference of squares indeed. Which is? So then you will give me 3 solutions. And the solutions are? Perfect. Next one. Solve the radical equation. The square root of x plus 13 equals x minus 7. Is it cleaned up? Or does it need any attention? It doesn't need anything because the radical is isolated. There is only one radical, it's isolated, everything else is on the other side. So I'm ready to start. What do I do? Indeed. When I square the left-hand side, perfect. Now I have to be very careful for the right-hand side. This is our agreement from day 1. Very good, excellent. So then I have the first term squared minus 2 times 7 times x. Perfect. Plus the second term squared. Awesome. What type of equation is this now? Very good. So I have to get 2 solutions. But I squared both sides, so I don't know if I'm going to get 2. Maybe none, or maybe just 1. Good. So what do I do next with this quadratic equation?
Yes,
absolutely. There is no other way. So I will subtract x from both sides. So then I have x squared minus 15x. And I will have to subtract 13 from both sides. And I get plus 36. If it takes more than 20 seconds to factor, forget it, quadratic formula. If it doesn't take long, let's factor it. X minus product is 36, sum is negative 15. Very good. So we have two options, 12 and 3. And this is a huge question mark. Why? Why I can't be sure of this or these solutions? Every time we raise both sides to a power like this, the solutions may or may not work. Remember, this is part of the solution. This is not done. For a radical equation, I have to go back to the original problem. It's mandatory. This is not the original problem. Not at all. This is the original problem. I will plug in 12 and see what happens. 12 plus 13 is 25. The square root of 25 is 5. 12 minus 7, is that 5? Good. So this is a yes. No question there. Now I'm trying 3. 3 plus 13. Square root of 16. The right-hand side is 3 minus 7. The left-hand side is 4. The right-hand side is? What do you say about x equals 3? No way. So the only solution is x equals 12. X to the fourth minus 5x squared plus 4 equals 0. The question says solve the equation by making an appropriate substitution, which clearly tells us that this is quadratic in form. If it says use a substitution, it's definitely quadratic in form. So I will say let y be very good, x squared. Only if this is y squared.
Yeah.
Only if this is y squared, this is y. So then the equation becomes
Y squared
minus 5y plus 4 equals 0. This I know how to factor. How do I factor it? So y minus 1, y minus 4. So we have two options for y. Although no one cares about y. We do. We still have to present the answer in x. So what do we get for y? Very good. So now the first equation, which is y equals 1, really is what equation? Actually, x squared equals 1. What method will I use for this? And I should have asked from the beginning, forgive me for forgetting, how many solutions do we have to find? 4 solutions. Yes. So please be careful. Do not obtain less than 4. Something is wrong. So then which method will I apply for x squared equals 1? Right. It's ready for that. Good. So then I have x equals? Perfect. And then y equals 4 really means what? Right. It means x squared equals 4. Take the square root. X equals plus or minus 2. And that's how we get 4 solutions. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 4. Last problem on page 2. An inequality. X minus 10 over 4. Greater than or equal to x minus 5 over 6 plus 1 over 12. What type of inequality is this? It's linear and it doesn't have x in the denominator. Linear. What would you like to do? For sure, you would love to write. And it's very easy to do that and highly recommended. Multiplying both sides by exactly what? The least common denominator. I need the smallest number that is divisible by 4, by 6, and by 12. 12 indeed. Since they're all fractions, I multiply by 12 over 1, so because I want to simplify. I don't want to multiply. So I will simplify by simply writing 12 over 1. So I'll simplify 4 and 12 by 4. Very good, and I get a 3. I'll simplify 6 and 12 by, very good, so it's 2, and I'll simplify this by 12. Perfect. So what do I get? Yes, let's write it like this as a first step for everyone to see. Do you all agree with this step? 3 quantity x minus 10 greater than or equal to 2 quantity x minus 5 plus 1. Now we distribute, indeed, 3x minus 30 greater than or equal to 2x minus 10 plus 1. First simplify, 3x minus 30 greater than or equal to 2x minus 9. And only now start moving terms around. So move 2x and move negative 30. When you move 2x from being positive, it becomes negative. 3x minus 2x is? Perfect. Greater than or equal to, when I move negative 30 to the other side, it becomes positive 21. In interval notation, I will say x in the interval. Very good. Okay, moving on. We have two absolute value inequalities, 10 and 11. Before we continue, I'd like to ask a question. Who is, and if you are willing to meet with me on Saturday morning to do more review for the test on Monday?
What time?
Nine to 10? If this one is occupied, I'll find another. It's not a problem. I'm going to try to get this one from 9 to 10. It's free. 9 to 10 on Saturday. Because I'm not very happy yet. Yes? You're not obligated to come. I can't force you to come. But I would like to finish this review, which is not going to happen in the next 10 minutes.
You're saying you're going to set a review date on
I
Saturday?
will be in this room from 9 till 10 on Saturday. Yes? Is that okay? The reason I cannot postpone this test is because the interim grades are due on Thursday. I have to grade it, return it to you on Wednesday, and post the grades. And right now, just my math lab, it doesn't give me a strong indication of where the student is. If the student is on the right track or not. I cannot just come up with an assessment out of the blue. Is this okay? Can I be here on Saturday? Now, if no one shows up, then I'd like to know, because I don't want to make the trip, because I can do other things. So are you sure? If one student shows up, I will be here. Okay. Good. So I'll be here on Saturday 9 to 10. Okay, let's continue with the absolute value. I will record. If you're not here, I will record. I will post it. So for everyone to benefit from it. But I strongly recommend show up if you can. So the absolute value of 4x plus 8 divided by 5 is less than 4. Okay, so this is an absolute value inequality. If you remember, there are two possibilities. Greater than, the absolute value to be greater than a number or equal to, or less than or equal to a number. Which one is this? Is it the easy type that I can write as a chain? Remember, I can write this, or I can write this. This does not exist. Do not ever be tempted to write this. That's impossible, and this is impossible. So it can be this, or it can be this way. So, or the two completely separate inequalities. Which one is it? Is it the easy one in a chain or the separate? All you have to do is just read it. So when I read this, I say this. I'm looking for these numbers whose distance from 0 is less than 4. Whatever the numbers are, the distance from 0 must be less than 4. Distance from 0 must be less than 4. So then how do I write this? Very good. Awesome. In between. This is the in-between type. Good. Now, this was changed into a compound inequality. How do I solve it? What is the first step? Very good. So then I have negative 20 less than 4x plus 8 less than 20. I'm multiplying everything, all three sides, left, middle, and right, by 5. Then the next step would be very good. So negative 28 less than 4x less than 12. I subtracted 8 from all three sides. Negative 28 less than 4x less than 12. And now we are finally getting to the last step. Very good. I divide all three sides by 4. I get a negative 7 less than x less than 3. So then in interval notation is exactly what I see. I don't have to do anything. So what is the interval notation? X in the interval? Yes. What type of symbols, left and right? Very good. Next one. The absolute value of 2x plus 2 divided by 3 greater than or equal to 4. Again, I'm asking myself, I cover this, or imagine that I cover it and I say this. Okay. This time I'm looking for numbers whose distance from 0 is 4 units or more. 4 units or more. Not 4 units or less, but 4 units or more. What do I do? This is not the chain. Two different inequalities, two completely separate inequalities. Can anyone give us the first one? So 2x plus 2 over 3 is very good. To the left of negative 4, good. Or 2x plus 2 over 3. Very good. Further away, nothing in between. Good. So I take the first inequality aside. So I get 2x plus 2 divided by 3 less than or equal to negative 4. How do I solve this? Good. So I have 2x plus 2 less than or equal to negative 12, multiplying both sides by 3. Then subtract 2, 2x less than or equal to negative 14. And finally, divide to get x less than or equal to negative 7. Now this one will be 2x plus 2 divided by 3 greater than or equal to 4. Same thing, I multiply by 3. 2x plus 2 greater than or equal to 12. Same thing, I have to subtract 2. 2x greater than or equal to 10. And I divide both sides and I get greater than 5. Now I have to put the solution together. What do I need to put these two together? What symbol I have to use in this situation in order to put those two together? Union. So x is in the interval. Union. Perfect. We have an equation, y equals the square root of x plus 12. We're asked to determine whether the following equation defines y as a function of x. Y as a function of x. One option would be, which we normally don't do, is to graph it. I know transformations now. What is the base function? I can imagine the graph already. Square root. This is the square root of x. And then, very good. So let's say this is negative 12, and this is it. Square root of x plus 12. By the vertical line test, is this a function or not? It is. Here's another way of writing it. I will say for each x value, I find only one y value. Therefore, function. But now, knowing transformations, you can picture everything much faster. Good. The next one. Use the vertical line test to identify graphs in which y is a function of x. Is this a function or a relation? Relation. Moving on. I know I have only 1 minute left. Let's see if we can answer any of this. If not, we'll stop. We are given a graph in problem 14. We are asked to find the function's domain. Let's just find the domain and then stop. Can anyone give us a domain of this function? Bracket 0 to parenthesis 4. So the domain for number 14, domain is 0, 4 with a parenthesis. Okay, we can just do the function's range, and then I'll stop. We'll stop. What is the function's range? From negative 9 till it appears to be 7, if I'm not mistaken, right? From negative 9 to 7. So range, negative 9 to 7 with a parenthesis.